Hello, hello, hello. Hello guys. So we will be starting with our session, and today we will be learning version control with Git and GitHub. So yeah, one second. Let me. All right. So today we will be learning version control. What is version control and its terminologies? We'll be learning Git and then collaborating with Git using GitHub, and then what version control practices and workflow are used in the industry. So how do people work with other developers? If you are in a team and you want to work with other developers, so how does that happen in a structured and a mannered way? So you can probably work on particular components and then you integrate your code together. So you break down your task into different components, and then each of the team members will work on those components and the code will be then combined together. So all of this can be simplified using something called version control, where um, people can do the different parts and then it will be all merged into one single code. So may you can make copies of your file in a way such that it's there on the cloud. So what is version control? So version control is basically the management of changes that are made in your documents or like your computer program. So it is also called source control, and it is a system that enables the management of tracking and the changes that you make on your files and projects over time. So it provides a structured way in which you can keep track of the modification to the documents like or your source code or any type of file that are there. So with version control, you will also have history tracking. You can collaborate with other people. You will also have code synchronization. Like while working with others, people will check out your code and then recommend you some changes or improvements that can be done. There is also error recovery. People can also document it as well. So some examples are Git, Mercurial, and Subversion. So why version control? So it makes working in a team very easy. So like at first there was a lot of interferences with the without version control. So if two people make changes on the same file, then which version of the code would be used, and like do we have to use the previous version or not? Then we can also integrate code with like of multiple developers very easily. So and we can also get to know like which person did what changes and when, and it also helps to keep your code secure. So these are some reasons why you should use version control. And Uh, okay, that was just a simple meme. So, what is Git? And also some of the reasons why you should use like version control, as I already said, history tracking, collaborating with others, error recovery, parallel development, and then code synchronization. You can also review the codes, documentation, experimentation, blah blah blah. So now we'll be coming to Git, and so one sec. So Git is a distributed version control system. It's a type of version control system that people use. And no, it's not the same as GitHub. So it is something that is being used in GitHub. So if you are new to programming, you might be wondering what is Git init and Git clone. So we'll get into that, some basic Git commands that are there, and it's a command line tool that is accessible with your terminal on the Mac or your Git Bash on Windows. So it is used widely in like different software development and other fields as well. So it is a distributed system and it will keep a local repository of your source code or like your files, and then you can make some commands or different types of things such as commit, where a commit in Git basically represents a snapshot of changes that you have made in your code. So commits are like basically accompanied by different messages. So every time you make a change in your code, so if someone is checking out your code, so they can get to know what changes you have made or what differences are there from your previous code and in your new code by checking out the commit message. So you can add like a small commit message which will tell like I have made this changes in this version and what how is it different from the older version. And then there is also branching. So branching is basically where you can use different branches of your code, and it's basically like parallel development. So they can create their own. So people, so if someone is working on the same code, so they can create different branches of it, and all of them can work parallelly. They don't, it doesn't have to be interdependent. And then they can work on different bug fixes, experiments, or like new features. So once the changes are ready, all of them will just merge all their branches that they have made, and then they will have one combined feature. Okay. Oh, Anand Raja. All right. So, yeah. And then we also have different remote repositories, Git, and then you can also make PRs, basically pull requests, in platforms like GitHub or GitLab. And pull requests allow developers to propose changes made in their branches. And then you can also have community and open source. Basically, I mean that Git and platforms like GitHub have played like a significant role in open source. So developers from like around the world can contribute to a code that you have made or like project that you have made, and then they will have one combined shared code that people can look at and work from it. And so why do people use Git and not other VCS, basically version control systems? So Git is the one second. So Git is the most popular control system in the industry, and it provides a proper and detailed understanding of why Git will allow you to make a transition to any other distributed version control system easily. And most of them are similar to Git only. And then how is Git different from other VCS? So Git has a very good distributed natures where it allows each developer to have their own complete copy of the repository, and this offers like advantage like offline work and faster branching and merging compared to other VCSs. And then Git is really good at branching and merging. Git's capabilities with branching and merging are considered superior, and creating branches is lightweight, and branching is a core aspect of Git workflow. So that's those are some reasons why Git is better than other VCSs. So Git is also very fast, and it is really flexible as well. So how does one install Git? So to use Git, you obviously need to install it on your system, and you can access its Unix terminal or then the terminal on the Mac or the Git Bash on Windows. So you can download it from here. Or you can just search up Git installation, and then you can just follow the first link. So these are some terminologies that are there in version control that are basically used. So version control system is what I just talked about in the previous slides. And then there is repository. Repository is where repository is also called repo, and that is where you store all your codes, and like it's like a storage system for all your files and the codes and like all the changes that you made. Commit is what I talked about a bit earlier, where you just add a message or like a comment on your repo on your changes that you have made, and then people can check that out, like how is it different from your previous code, and like if you have added some features, so you can add a commit message and talk about it. And SHA working directory, check out staging area, and then branch. So I've already talked about branch before, like how what is branch, and we'll talk about it later as well in the coming PPT slides. And then there is working directory. Working directory is basically the current directory, or like the present where work directory, where you would be working, like you would be making your changes. And yeah, these are all the definitions. So every time you make a commit, there is like a specific ID or a unique ID that is attached to your commit message, and that is where that is like your unique ID number. So for example, here is one of like the IDs where of a commit message that you have done in your push command. And then there is the working directory, the files that you see in your computer's file system basically. And when you open your project files up on your code editor like VS Code or something, you are working with the files in the current directory or the working directory. So there is also checkout when content in the repository has been copied to the working directory, and it is possible to check out many things from a repository, a file, a commit, a branch, etc. And we also have a staging area, so you can think of the staging area as a preparatory table. So once you have made some changes, so you can push your code to the staging area, and you can also check it by writing the command git status. So you can see like which part of your code is to be committed or to be pushed and is already at the staging area and needs to be pushed like to the current directory or the main branch basically onto GitHub, like if you want to publish it. And then branch is like when a new line of development is created, it's like a parallel a branch, like a parallel area where if two people want to make changes in the same on the same content, so they can have two different branches, both of them can work on their own thing, and then they can then just merge it. So it's like a alternative line of development that can continue without altering the main line. And then once it's connected, like once it's merged, then people will have one common line, one common main line. So let's dive into the good stuff now, which are some basic Git commands that I'll be covering. So let me check out the chat now. Okay. Yeah. So remote repository disaster. Okay. So these are some basic Git commands: Git init, Git status, Git add, Git commit, and all of that. So I'll be showing you all of these different commands uh, through a demo. So these are some get commands, like these are most of the commands that you will be using, and git ignore will be used as well, like if you want to push the whole folder that is there, but you want to ignore some files that are there in your folder, like if these are some requirements or like that you have installed, so that you don't want to push that on your GitHub, because that will make up very big load on the GitHub. So you will be ignoring those files, so that is where git ignore is used. So these are some main git commands that you will be using mostly. So this is the demo. So if you are done working in your working directory, so you will use a command called git add, and then you can either select the files that you want to add, like you can add git add and then index HTML or whatever files you want to add in the staging area, or you can just do git add and then a space dot. So the dot basically means the directory that you are in, and so if you do git add dot, so it will basically add all the files that are there in your working directory into the staging area. And you can check that by uh, writing the command called git status. So you will get to know which of your files are in the staging area. So after going to the staging area, you can then add a comment saying git commit and then dash m, and you can then add your comment like I have added the css for the file, or if you have made some improvement in it, so you can add your comment in it, and then you can then just it will be gone to your repository, and then you can just push it. So you will be using the command called git push and then dot. So dot basically mean anything that's there in the staging area would be then pushed into GitHub. So the git init basically means you initialize a GitHub, a Git repository or your working directory basically. So and then git status, as I said, it will just tell you the status of your current git like the files and folders, which of the files are in the staging area, which is in the working area directory, and which are supposed to be pushed in the next one. And then git add, so it basically adds all the files that are there in your working directory. And then git commit, as I said, you will be adding your message where you will be saying like you will be adding a message that I have made this changes or that changes in the directory. And then you have git log, where you can just see all the commands that you have used. It's like it will keep a log of all the git commands that you have used on your terminal, and you can check that out. And then git clone, so git clone is basically used when you want to clone a repository that's already there. So what you can do is, so if you find a repository that you want to download on your computer, like on your PC, and so you will just take the link of that repo, like just take the URL, and then you will just write git clone and then spacebar the repository link. So if you do that, it will just copy all the files that are there on your local system, and then you can work on it. So if there is some program that you really like and you want to work on that, so you can just write git clone and then the program URLs on your terminal, and once you're done with that, it will just download all the files that are there in the repository in your local system. So now we will be coming to GitHub. So uh, GitHub is just a medium for all your repos. So it is just a hosting website where you can add all the git repositories that you have made, and it is like a platform where people can use Git to make changes and add their codes or use other codes and basically work collaboratively. So it is a web-based platform, and it hosts a Git repository, and it also offers tools for version control, collaboration, and project management. It is like the most popular platform for developers to collaborate on different projects. And so GitHub provides Git repository hosting, so you can just host all the Git repository on this website, and then you can work. So in different teams and in different projects, teams use GitHub, and then they code collaboratively on GitHub. So if someone has made any change or uh, has deleted any files or has added any new features, so someone can just go to GitHub on the code repo and then just check that out what changes they have made, and then work accordingly. So people can collaborate with each others. And then there's that is something called pull request. So pull request allow developers to propose changes from their branch for review and integration into the main code base. So someone can take the main branch of someone's code, take the current branch of the someone's code, and then they can recommend improvement or like a change in the code, and they can then make a pull request for the main user to accept the change. So if they think that the change is good, they will just accept, and then it will be merged to the main branch. So that enables a structured code review process. And then GitHub also includes a built-in issue tracker. So that will help you manage tasks, bugs that are there, and then feature request and pull request as well as and it also like facilitates communication among team members and allows for a centralized record on the project progress. And we also have collaborative discussion, like people can discuss about the changes they have made and uh, what progress they have done on the project, and they can do it on GitHub. So yeah, those are some of the main features of GitHub that I just talked about, and then we'll be getting into the next topic, and what is like working with a remote repository. So remote basically means a place where your code is stored. So by default, remote name is origin and the default branch is master. So master is where like once you are done with the making a different branch and once you are done merging with it, it will go into the master branch, and that's the default branch where everything takes place. So certain thing that comes to play is called as like when people collaborate on different things and they can do it using Git on GitHub. So that's how people collaborate. And so here comes some basic commands: push, pull, branching, merging, and forking. So if I have okay so if I have three members, Alice, Joe, and Bob, and they are all working on a project together. So as you can see, Alice had this file, and then Bob had added this file and this PDF or document, whatever. And then Joe probably removed these three files and added his own two files, or he just added one file and removed the two files that are there. So how will we know that which like who replaced the files and which files were replaced and which files are there in the current repository? So that's where we'll be using these commands, and that's where GitHub will come in play. So GitHub will keep a track of which person added what files were removed by which person, and what's there in the final file. So if there is any dispute, they can just check the log of GitHub and then they can check different changes that are being made. So that is a very big feature of why people use GitHub. So how to access GitHub? Basically, you can just go on github.com and create an account. And if you are a student, you can just use the student developer pack, and you will be getting free GitHub Copilot, which you can use, and it's very helpful. So, and then GitHub clone, you can just go to this website and then clone it. So GitHub demo, these were the commands that I was talking about here: push, pull, branching, merging, and forking. And yeah, so let's get started with the git commands. And so I have git push. So git push basically pushes the all the changes that you have made into the remote repository. And then we have git pull, then it will just pull all the latest changes that you have done from your remote repo. Git branch will let you see all the branches that are there in your repo, and then if you write git branch and then give a new branch name, that will create a branch on the repository that you have, and then you can say git checkout and then your branch name. So that will then you will move to that particular branch that you're talking about. And one second. And you have git checkout. Okay, I've already talked about git checkout. And git merge, it basically means it will combine all the branches that are there into one master branch or a main branch, and that will have all the changes that are being done on different branches, like different branches that people have made, and it will be combined into one single branch, and that will be called the master branch or the main branch. So git revert, and then you can put your commit SHA. So I have talked about the SHA earlier. So HSA is the unique, yeah. So HSA is just a unique ID number for your commit. So if you do, uh, yeah. So git revert, you can do commit and then the ID of the uh, 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 command that you have added and then of the commit message, and then if you do that it will just revert the change that you have made through that commit message of that change. So this is like a practical demo of how people collaborate with GitHub. So so imagine we have a repository and it will have its own master C1 and C2, and there are two people who want to collab and work on this repo together. So we have Alice and Bob. uh, so both of them will clone the repos. So Alice also has the master C1 C2 and same with Bob. So Bob also has master C1 and then C2. So, so both of them has added their own changes that they have done. So, for example, Alice had added CA, and then Bob has added CB, and then they have used the commands git add and then git commit, and they must have given a message with the commit command, and now. After doing git commit, so this repository will go to the staging area, and now since Alice has used the command git push, she will be pushing her current repo into the master repo. So now as you can see, CA is here. C3 basically means CA, and now Bob will use git fetch. So git fetch will basically fetch the data that's there, like fetch all the changes that have been made into the remote repo ever since he cloned the repo. So as you can see, he cloned it here and there was just master C1 and C2. Now he added CB on his own, and after git fetch you can see that C3 is a change that has been made in the remote repo. So he got C3, so he will now merge it. So they use the command git merge. So here C3 is also there, right? So all these four different code components are then merged into one single branch, and then he'll push all of these files into the remote repo. That was the original repo that they have made, and now after pushing it, all the files are there like C1 and C2 which were already there, and then the changes made by Alice which is CA, and then the change made by CB which is by Bob which is CB. So now after doing that, all the new files are added into the remote repo. So now if Alice wants the new updated code, she will just do git pull, and then she will get all the files that are there in the main master repo, which is the remote repo. And if she does git pull, she will also be having master C1, C2, CA and CB. And so these are some more collaborative git commands. So one can also delete a branch if they want to. So if they have made a change, for example, if they don't want to use the change that have been made by Alice, so they can just do git branch and then delete it. So it will delete the changes that have been made by Alice, and the rest of the things will still be there. And then so there are some merge conflicts that might happen. So how will you resolve them? uh, so that's where you use the tag, and you can just put commit SHA. SHA is again the unique ID for your commit message. So there are basically two typical cases of merge conflicts. So there is a normal merge when you are a collaborator, and then the pull request that has been made by someone else to the repository owner. So so if you want to learn more about Git, I would highly recommend like using it on your own, and do some like make some project using like from scratch using Git, and then push it to their repo and just try it out once. That will be nice. And as far as Git goes, this PowerPoint covers the basics that will help you get started. And I'll be sharing this repo with you guys so you guys can check out like some basic commands and whatever that has been taught today, and then use it on your own repository or like a project if you are trying to do. So rebasing basically concepts you should cover. It's a concept that you should be covering. So if there are some questions, people can ask me. One, Alice and Bob is the vibes. Okay, so I think that will be it, guys. That is it for the session today. I hope you guys liked it and learned something from the session. So yeah, see you soon. And on I think the coming Tuesday and like sometime soon, one of our members would be taking a session on AI and ML. So